I'm John Charles. I'm live. I'm right by Seattle Pacific University, Nickerson and Queen Anne Avenue. Colliers is trying to run this property at the Seattle Pacific University and do a building restructure illegally. Colliers is really involved in this crime. There's several things that have to be addressed right now. One is my Magna Cartas. We are identifying something to do with the Judge Feeser in Seattle using the name Pfister, moving the railroads. Brad Scarp was involved with this, and Michael Lake and Kelly Barber, trying to take over the Magna Cartas, which is linked to my taxes and my free American citizenship. These six were destroyed to try to cover up tax fraud at the IRS. So those have to be reissued immediately. The crimes are much bigger right now, and one is the railroad. Pfister was linked to Ann Schultz, Southern Pacific, my Burlington Northern, and other interests in Burlington Northern. These certificates, stock certificates, have been released illegally. The name we're getting is Fred Lynn Krebs, Wabley. Linda Wabley is really, and we're not sure if that's, they call her Wabs. She may be in London right now. They're talking about Womblins or Wimbledons that they were stealing from the family. So wherever she is, I don't know. But also another one that's huge right now that's slipping the cracks is Tomlin and Sabley. They're involved in taking down properties in downtown Seattle. I'm trying to keep my head on straight right now because there's a lot of different things happening, but these are really pressing because we feel Colliers International is involved in a group of murders. Forbes was involved, Fortune 500, in breaking out those documents and distributing. We know the Simon Corporation is really big, but also Fortune 500 and Forbes are very guilty of coming into Seattle and possibly getting involved in this corruption, some being murdered. Dahlberg is on, Dan Dahl was running properties for Colliers. Colliers is not John Charles Shipping. They're on my properties. Northrop Grumman does not own my property. They didn't pay for it. And this is much related to the John Charles Shipping covers up on Lake Union, South Lake Washington, Elliott Bay, up into the San Juans and down the coast. So we know that Ed Hafley was a neighbor of my family. Ed Hafley, they're talking about an Ed who was supposed to distribute. When my parents were murdered, we believed that Ed Hafley's son, Jimmy Hafley, tried to take over the Queen Anne properties. And they tried to use Ed Hafley's name as somebody who was supposed to be distributing to my family. Well, Ed died and when we were very young, and Jimmy took off and made a deal with Century 21. Century 21 then went with the Russell family to Dubai and to Saudi Arabia. We believe they may have sold oil information or distributed the information that was not for sale, and they may have tried to take it over. So this is really, really big right now, what's going on. I'm not receiving any money. We know that Sabley Shavlin, Linda Saylor, they're involved in pushing different ethnicities in, or else they're murdered. So we have a huge Jamaican mafia that we know about right now that has been moving to Negril. We're not sure who it was that moved to Negril and Antigua. We think McClace, who was involved in the public market's destruction of all the files that were down by the Seattle Public Market, including Hosberg, and then breaking it up, then running and making it look like other people stole it. So much of the royal was stolen at Seattle Public Market. The management of the market right now is guilty of trying to take all the payments with in that area. And we have taken it back further to Miso Mescatel's gangs with 13 Coins restaurants and some of the Italian mafia that were linked to this crime when they took out the Genovese and used a restaurant called Vito's to distribute at one time illegally. So that's the old Vegas money, the old Chicago money that's owed to my family. Continental Place is one of the condominiums in that area by a salon I worked at called Obadiah. There was a group, John Price, Bob Johnson, were linked to that mafia. The Hanna family that was up in Rainier Beach was linked to that mafia and distributing finance that was left up by the house. So the Hannas, Jack Hanna, Mark Hanna, very involved with Nancy Blanchard, Rosendahl, several names, but I don't want to go there because I know when Continental Place, I was working in that area, they used my money from pro sports to purchase Continental Place, and we believed a lot of the construction money when they built it came from my family. But the penthouse was pro sports money at one time. It was taken from my accounts, and then Sony Corporation tried to take it over. That is still my condo. It's a penthouse condo. Dick Balch was in that building. He's linked to Otto, the Barons, and Mannheim auction, car auction, money theft, the payment theft. So this is a real deep, and Navy surplus across the street was being run on First Avenue in Seattle by Belltown. This also links to the Denny foreclosures and the regrade of Seattle in the early 1900s, 1900s, when they moved that money illegal to 7th and 8th to Bezos and started doing construction illegally with Cryblend, which is foreign. So Rabley, Frablin, all these accounts that are stolen from aren't being replaced. Lastly, very important, Camlin is a Samoan mafia. Camlin was in that Continental Place account. They broke in, and they broke into apartments. He's running Wells Fargo Bank right now, running it out to people all over the country. Camlin has to be stopped. There's Samoan indifference right now because of his crimes. Now, he's linked to a bigger group, and we believe it may be India. Or Dubai. Whatever he's done, they sold 5,000 royal ring shrine, which are royal rings left to my family. They're real. There's some not priceless, but all linked to my German bloodline, and they have not replaced it. Selin is involved in this crime. He's not releasing information. And Siemens Management, Siemens Corporation. This is really big because those are German corporations. We have information. The old Shepley markers were stolen by Russia. Now, Russia is complaining because a lot of the girls were giving money to the Yiddish. So they were outwired. So Russia had a setup here that became outwired. They were taken down by the Jewish Sholoms and the Hirsch synagogues. And he started telling the kids from Russia what to do. And they were giving it to Weiss and, I'm sorry, the Weiss family is one of the biggest. Calvo is another one. Shalomas is the name that's involved. Ed Sholin is another name involved. Bernstein is another name involved. In going over those wires and having those kids distribute to the Jewish mafias. We have a huge Jewish mafia now moving in on the properties in Edmonds, up on Queen Anne Hill. This is what they did about 2 years ago when they tried to take over the Edmond Railroad. Edmonds railroad lines were linked to Northern Base subsidiaries that were linked to my family that gives me interest in those railroads. So this crime is really huge right now. The moves at Wells Fargo have to be stopped. The moves at Union Bank that were on Queen Anne that were covered up have to be stopped. The moves linked to Colombian, East Indian Mafia and Persian Mafia all through Queen Anne have to be stopped. Union Bank, US Bank, Wells Fargo, Sound Credit Union. We have Sound Credit Union linked to DeVries and City University thieves that are one time linked to the fire department in downtown Seattle. Mark Reichen, the Breslins, and Stragas. These guys are big time murderers. Huge. We know now that they were doing like a student exchange, except with firemen internationally. Innsbruck, Austria is one of the big holding dumps for the stolen property out of Seattle from the Charles Holy Roman Empire. From my family's trust fund, Brunswick-Lüneburg-based trust, of course, grandparents to the Habsburg line that those antiquities came from. Cannes Film Festival is another place we believe. We have family there that tried to take a yacht there. Josh Robinson was one of the people. Matt Jones. I'm not sure who else it was that took my money there. But we now have the name Tim Craley. And we also have a black group that Craley's used called Crailers, and they're linked to Texas. So the oil fraud is really standing out in the cattle fraud. The Brahmin Cattle Union, very guilty with Hispanic mafia and trying to take over cattle. But the cattle might not be Hispanic, it might be South America. These Argentinian restaurants, one linked to the Hilton on 2nd Avenue in Seattle right now, are still running credit cards illegally like they did in Bellevue. Argentinian meat accounts were very base accounts. They're very old in Brazil from my family shipping. That's why we had that beef money when we were shipping domestic animals for supply chains and for industry in these different countries. It's much like the Holstein accounts and the old Jersey when we came, Hereford accounts. When my family came through Hereford to Devon and then started moving down towards America, Massachusetts colony. So linked to some of the first cattle exchanges internationally. So whatever Argentina is doing right now, and they've been doing it for years, is insane. Using credit cards, breaking in the account, and then instead of just using the industry money, trying to run money through these restaurants, and it's millions. It's millions all over the country. Argentinian steakhouses, that flow of money is insane. So South America, my last news is Ottingen is saying they want to clear out Ottingen, Spielberg, Albrecht's gang with Leeds in Manchester, and Barron out of Vegas, Behren. They want to clear out and make it look like the Brunswick-Lunenburg was theirs in Saxe-Coburg. And then if you understand history, Giblin and Guelph, I have both set up for antiquities. We're involved on both sides of our family in those wars like cousins did back in early Europe. I'm a Guelph because I'm Welsh. That's my grandfather. That isn't Ottingen's family. It's not Spielberg, Ottingen. No, it's not their family. It's my family. So whatever they've conspired with their marriage to Chile, because they are married to Chile. That family in Germany is married. The Chilean girl has married into that royal family. Much like the Russian that has married into the royal family of Monaco, who's illegal using any money at this point. So the Monaco Grand Prix, Ascot is going on. And huge moves to Cannes Film Festival. IFF, BIFF, CAFF. We're watching AFF, okay? Firefighters, IFF. So something about this is linked. They're taking, I'm John Charles, that's it. That's what I've got right now. Camelin has to be stopped.